Guys, it's Dan, Book Nook Noggin, here with my final review for 2020. As I'm currently filming this, it is December 31st, 2020. It's New Year's Eve, and why not go out with a vampire book? This is Nocturnal Blood by Villimey Mist. She is an Icelandic author, and this is her debut novel. And I have to say, I'm very surprised by this. I have not read a good vampire novel in quite a while. This one is definitely going to be right up there with one of my favorite vampire books. I'm hoping that the series is going to be just as exciting. She had sent me the second book as well, and I know that she's releasing book 3 in January or February, somewhere around there. But, yeah, this one's right up there with one of my top fave vampire books. I like this better than the Anne Rice books that I've read. That's saying a lot for this book. Let me introduce you to what's going on with this book. It's about two girls, two gal pals. There's Leia and there's Sophie. Now, these two girls are radically different, and I love the dynamics of their relationship. They're as different as night and day, but they both kind of uplift each other. And while Leia she's blonde and wears glasses, and Sophie is dark-haired, and she's more rebellious and not as studious and much of a loner as Leia is, I love the way that they kind of interact. And I have to admit, one of the characters I really, really enjoyed was the character of Leia. I really liked the fact that she was kind of quirky and atypical. I loved the fact that, you know, she had little quirks and she was kind of OCD, which made her different than your traditional, like, of the norm, like, main character. I really loved that about her, and it kind of made me vested and interested in this character, if that makes any sense. And I know that sounds weird, but that's just how I felt. Now let's get back on to about their road trip. They go on a road trip, but it's not like any other road trip. It is a road trip running for their lives, basically. A lot of people kind of compared this to Thelma and Louise because of the hijinks of going on a road trip. I can kind of see that, and I can kind of relate to that. I was kind of hoping that, being that the author was from Iceland, I was kind of hoping for this to take place in Iceland, but it does take place in Alaska and down the West Coast and in some parts of Canada. This had a lot of surprises. I like the fact that she kind of, you know, reawakened some old vampire tropes, or some aspects of the vampire trope that a lot of people just don't utilize in vampire fiction anymore. And I was really surprised by that, and I really enjoyed that. I was like, yes, a proper good vampire novel using, you know, traditional vampire, you know, ideologies behind the mythology of vampires. This has vampires, ghouls, and vampire hunters. Oh my. There's just so much going on with this book. But like I said, these two girls, they're running for their lives on this road trip. There was at one point where it did become a little bit predictable, and that kind of, you know, like the middle of the book got predictable. Like, I kind of knew, like, once one thing happened, I was like, oh, I bet you the next thing's going to happen really soon. And they kind of fell right in place, and I was like, oh. But then the book redeemed itself by the end, and it kind of had some surprise twists in the end that I did not see coming that really made up for the predictability of the middle of the book. Hands down, this, like I said, and did I mention, look at this cover. I know it's all red, and maybe it's kind of hard to see, but we got this girl, like, licking her fingers with the blood and shit. This was a really good vampire book. If you guys are fans of vampire fiction, I don't know if I can compare this to anything else. Like, it kind of had the feels of Charlene Harris's True Blood, but it didn't have romance in it. But it had all those, like, supernatural kind of good stuff going on for it. And if you've read David Wellington's vampire series, the Laura Caxton series. That one was really good, and it kind of had some of those feels because the vampires in this, they're not sappy, they're kind of violent and kind of feral, and I appreciate that when that's included in vampire stories because it's not Twilight. Real vampires to me are not going to be like charming and sparkling, and yeah, so this was roughly 302 pages. So, and I do have to say that the pacing for this was really, really good. Like I said, like, I'll admit, I didn't intend on finishing this before the end of the year. I was kind of thinking that I wanted to, like, maybe stretch it out and maybe finish it in January. But the story had me turning the pages. I wanted to know what was going to happen to these two gals. I was really invested in them because of the stuff they were going through. It really, I just couldn't help myself, and I had to complete this. I had to grind it out because I just was so excited, and just the anticipation to find out what was going to happen to them really kept me in suspense. And like I said, the ending was such a surprise for me, and I'm kind of wondering, with the way this ended, how it all ties into the rest of the series. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check out book 2 pretty soon. I don't know how soon I'm going to get to it, but I do want to definitely read book 2. I gave this a 4 out of 5 star rating on Goodreads. Definitely, if you are a fan of vampire fiction, definitely check this one out. Being that it is that the author is from a different culture, there were some awkward phrasings of the English language, and English is not her first language, so that's totally understandable, and I'm not going to hold that against her. I mean, there weren't many, like, you know, awkward phrasings. There were a few here and there that just... Because there was one where they mentioned something about bad cocaine, and it was like, it was phrased, a bad coke, and I'm like, well, that's kind of awkward. That doesn't sound right, because it's not a Coca-Cola, it's cocaine. But you know, you got me. You know what I'm talking about. There were a few awkward phrasings, like when it came to different things. But overall, they were so minor and didn't really hamper the enjoyment of this book. But yeah, I really, really dug this. Like I said, this is going to be in my top fave vampire books for a while. Like I said, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. For those of you in the U.S., I will have a link to Amazon down below. I'm also going to throw down my bookshop.org link for this book for those of you international folks who are outside the U.S. I'm also going to throw down my coffee link if you don't mind buying me a coffee or two. I could use the energy and the motivation. If you came here looking for indie horror reviews and recommendations, please hit that subscriber button. And while you're there, hit that notification bell so you're well aware of when I upload again. That's all I got for you guys. This is my last book review for 2020, and I am going to be reading so many more books. I feel like I've got a lot planned for 2021, so stay tuned for those book reviews because they're going to be rolling out. They're going to be rolling. But thank you for watching. This has been Dan. Stay healthy and be good to each other. Hoping 2021 is much better.